Is it okay that we just admit it? That we just admit that politicians are corrupt? And what I mean by that is they like to sway a little bit. No matter what they believe, they'll believe something else for just about any group of individuals. You know, as someone who wears the badge of Christianity, I'm a Christian, but a lot of politicians wear that, but they'll celebrate Happy Diwali or whatever the holiday is for the Hindus and Indians. And we then allow for more Muslim control of this and selling to churches this. Can we just say for the obvious that we're causing for our own demise in America? Today we're going to be discussing that. I mean, they're building the absolute biggest temple in America, other than what's in India. There's a temple going in America. And churches are selling out every day. And the persecution of Christians are getting more and more all across the world, but even in America. And we have Muslim leaders telling us that if we have church spells, well, America gives freedom to where we should have the Muslim prayer and the call going out across every city. See, this is what happens when you have weak men as leaders. I just want everybody to admit that we are a Christian country, and if you don't like it, go home. It's that simple. Today we're going to be discussing that. Also, we're going to talk about Walmart. Walmart and Amazon had two different versions of stories, and I believe that Walmart actually is a good news story. We'll discuss that. Amazon, I mean, you know, to be honest with you, they didn't have the best news source this week with grid problems with AWS, but to be honest with you, they just came out with another story that should scare you. We rely on Amazon way too much, don't we? But now they're taking your jobs. Wait till you hear this story about robots and how it's been told that robots will take your job. Well, they're actually admitting it right now that robots are taking the jobs. We'll discuss that. And then lastly, we're going to go back to our food. There's a new story that shows that alternative meats and fake meats, even though they're probably getting put in your diet, all the additives, the bad thing about it is once they start testing it, it's actually very, very harmful for our bodies. Who would have thought that man-made created meat would be bad for us? Who would have thought that God-created food would be good for us? Kind of goes back to that weak man thing and that strong man thing and how we need to figure out who we are. I think that's the line that we're at right now. What way do we go, Western man? Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. I don't want this to be a disparaging video, but to be honest with you, if we're wanting to be the men and women that we're supposed to be and called to be, I'm sick of people just kind of wearing that title. You know, they'll say Republican in name only, call it a rhino. They'll call a Christian in name only, or they'll say, well, this person just wears that title. They just talk it, but they don't walk it. Well, that's all very true. Let's just go over the stories dealing with why I believe we have a major problem. And it's not a quote unquote religious problem. It's truly a good versus evil problem. And the sad thing is if you are a Christian, why are you not standing up against this? And then if you say, well, our leaders are just trying to help and honor all sides. Well, that's not what we were called to do as Christians. And to be honest with you, the ones that I'm worried more about is the people that wear the name Christianity and they look like conservatives. They speak in churches, but ultimately they're a joke. Prime example. Again, as a Christian conservative, as someone who votes Republican, let's just go over some of these stories. So first, let's go to the White House. Trump honors the India's holiday, Diwali. Well, Tulsi Gabbard's there. We have Kash Patel there. We have this whole line of people there. He's lighting this candle to a pagan god. And I know that people are like, oh, well, Trump doesn't care. I mean, honestly, he's just lighting a candle. Yeah, but what are we signifying in our nation? Also, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sits and honors people in the Hindu faith with Diwali. Also, Ted Cruz just spoke at a church Sunday talking about how he supports Israel and supports Christian movement, but then on his Twitter feed just yesterday, he said, we honor the people of the Indian culture that celebrate this holiday. So in one voice, we're all saying we're a Christian nation. With the other voice, we're saying, well, we're going to honor these pagans. Isn't that what God called a judgment on his people for? I mean, again, let's don't get too spiritual here, but to be honest with you, that's exactly what it is. That I'm so sick of people wearing that title. Either do not claim to be a Christian and live your life as a pagan person in this world, or you are a Christian and you live it. Here's the saddest part of this, though, It's not the fact that Trump, because Trump, to be honest with you, I don't know where his faith is. I mean, he's all made comments about heaven and things like that, but I want you to listen to this. God can use anyone, let me say that. But the sad thing is there are people around him that are professing Christians, that are openly conservative Christians, and they're allowing this to take place. Why are they not standing in direct opposition to this? Why are we allowing for our country to be overrun? Let's talk about two more things. There's a new temple being built, the largest Hindu temple outside of Asia, meaning the only other place in the world that has a bigger temple than what we're building for this Hindu god, this pagan ritual, is going to be built in New Jersey. We talked about yesterday how several churches were selling out to Muslim faith, and they were making mosque out of them, desecrating our churches to make mosque out of them. Listen to what Mehdi Hassan said. Now, this is, again, a complete leftist who is not even from here. He's from the UK. He's a Muslim. I want you to listen to what he says. He's been here less than 10 years in America, so he does not know America. So let's see what he says. Mehdi Hassan says to the American Christians, if you can have a church bell, we can have Islamic prayer. What he's saying is all these big cities, it's time to get rid of the church bells, or if you're going to leave the church bells, then let's have the call to Muslim prayer. See, this is what happens when you have weak men. And in this video probably will get canceled, but here's the thing. If you really want to have boldness, and you really want to have real men run our country again, and you really want families to structure, then you have to have leaders. I'm sick and tired of people wearing the names of what they think they are, and they're not. You know, if we're going to be a farmer, then I have to have some animals to farm, wouldn't I? If I'm going to be a gardener, then I should be able to produce some crops, shouldn't I? Well, if I'm going to call myself a Christian or call myself a conservative, then I need to be that. Don't be cussing all the time. Don't be running around on our spouses. Don't be acting like we're going to serve all these other pagan gods, and let's start actually living who we say we are. That's kind of like when people say they're Republican in name only. For instance, if we're going to call Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and all these others like them Republicans, why don't we just get rid of that name, period, and just call them for what they are, establishment? I think there should be when they put the names of these elected officials, we should have an R and an I and a D, but then we should also have an E. And that's for anybody who just really doesn't vote for Republican or Democrat. They just vote for themselves and establishment. So we should at least be able to label that as E, establishment. Meaning they're doing nothing for you, they're doing everything for themselves. You know what? My son is getting married, my oldest son. And I've been really trying to pour into him and his fiance, is that if you really want to be the man that you're supposed to be, your wife has to be the person she's supposed to be. And together you're supposed to be the couple to work hard at your marriage and love. Humbly love each other, humbly serve each other, but ultimately be the man and woman you're supposed to be. If I tell them that and all of a sudden I'm treating my wife like trash, or I'm not doing anything for her, or I'm letting this house go to nothing, I'm terrible with bills, am I actually representing that to my son? No. That would be father in name only. That would be, well, you're talking the talk, but you're not really walking the walk. Boy, do politicians screw up doing that. I'm just sick of seeing other holidays, other religions, and other people get what we built as our nation, as a Christian nation. The Puritans came over for that reason. Christian nation. And we're allowing it to falter. And you know who I blame? I don't blame the pagans. I don't blame the Democrats who live as the world. I blame the Republicans. I blame the conservatives. I blame the people that call themselves Christians. I blame the churches, because we're the ones letting it down. We're the ones letting America down. You know, we go back to 2 Chronicles 7:14 all the time. It's probably one of the most quoted scriptures, but in that scripture it talks about, if we are called by his name, then we will humble ourselves and basically change the way, and then honor him, and then God will heal our nation. That's just paraphrasing. You can go back and read the whole verse, but the whole purpose is he didn't call the pagans to humble themselves. I mean, they should, but ultimately he was calling people of him, people that wear the name of God and honor and Christian, to humble themselves and repent. If we would learn to do that, and we would stand for our faith, then we would actually change America. If we never change America, then we're going to be like every other country and fall, and every other empire and fall. And I'll be honest with you, I have 6 kids. I don't want to see that happen. Come on, people, it's time to wake up and be the men and women we're supposed to be, and then call out the ones like Ted Cruz, who goes and speaks to the church about Christianity, but then honors a pagan god the next day. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that from our White House. I have a problem with that with our leadership. Sadly, it's all across our government because everybody wants to vote and they all want to be pawns and they all want to make sure that you know that they support you even though they really don't. They just want your vote so then they can rip you to pieces and become filthy rich off of you. You know, no R, no I, no D. Let's just put an E behind their name. That would honor them most. Boy, I got a little heated in that, didn't I? All right, so I'm just passionate about it. I just want people to wear who they really are. It's like I told you before, I think every senator and congressman should have to wear patches of all the lobbyists that support them. You know, every little patch, if it's the tobacco, if it's the, you know, the alcohol, if it's whatever it may be, they should be able to wear all the patches so that way we know who's bought them out. Who's bought and paid for them, they're the sponsors and they should be advertising for them. I digress. Now let's talk about the other stories because they're just as important, not as important, but very important to our health and well-being. Let's talk about Walmart. Walmart comes out and Trump shares this, which is a good thing. It says that we are honored to see that Walmart pauses job offers to all workers with H-1B visas. Now, this is a good benefit in two ways, and it's also a caution. So we know that everybody's pausing job hires now, especially in the retail sector, because we're fixing to find out with Amazon that a lot of robotics and AI is taking over those jobs. But what Walmart is coming out and doing is saying, look, we've realized that Trump is doing a massive win by making it $100,000 basically for H-1B visa, meaning unless you're hiring for really high-end tech jobs that are going to contribute back to our society, no job is going to pay $100,000 to bring in an immigrant to pay them less wages because the $100,000 investment. So Trump is actually getting a win right here, but Walmart comes out and states that, you know, we're going to work on hiring Americans. The people we are hiring will be people that are American. Now, for the longest, there's times that we can't just be happy with Walmart. I understand that. But, you know, like I've told you before, when there's a win and there's a loss, we need to be able to call it. I love that Ted Cruz went to the church. But then I call him out because he chose to honor a pagan the next day. But like for instance, Walmart, and this was shared again by Trump, it says, Walmart pauses H-1B visa jobs offers because Trump's new $100,000 fee. It shows that the roles are essential for Americans and hiring Americans is of the utmost importance. Now, does that mean that Walmart's doing everything right? No, we've talked about this, but this is a good move. So we're very pleased with it because on the flip side, let's talk about what Amazon just did. And this is no joke. This is not dystopian. This is not fear-mongering. This is what just came out of Amazon's release. Just in breaking, Amazon plans to replace 600,000 U.S. workers, not world workers, U.S. workers with robots. Their goal is to diminish their force to mean for more robots and AI technology to come along. So we talked about massive layoffs, we talked about the dangers of it. This is where I caution you all the time. Do I want you to buy houses, cars? Do I want you to have a good life? Do I want you to buy animals and livestock and have gardens and have land? Yes, all that's great. But to be honest with you, you cannot put yourself in money bonds right now because what you're realizing is people are losing their jobs. Not only because people can't afford it, but ultimately people are already living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation's up, all that stuff. But now you see that your jobs aren't leaving you. They said for typical lawyers, doctors, engineers, along with retail sectors, call centers, we'll see a loss of millions of jobs over the next coming years. They said by 2028 and 2030, there will hardly be any jobs in that sector. Think about Uber drivers and taxis and truck drivers. They said that will be gone and obsolete. Now, most people are like, oh, that won't ever happen. Did you ever think that Amazon would fire 600,000 workers and replace them with AI and with robots? You probably never would have thought that would happen this year. That's happening this year. So what's going to happen next year, the next? It's going to keep on happening. So make sure we're happy with the fact of getting quick, convenient services from Amazon or Walmart. But we see that right now Walmart is still hiring Americans, is what they're saying with this H-1B visa situation, this announcement. But then look at Amazon's announcement. This should scare not you in your job and making sure you get your, the technology in and make sure that you're getting your stuff quick from UPS or from Amazon or from FedEx. But what it should do is scare you because if you're in debt up to your eyeballs or you're living paycheck to paycheck or your job is vulnerable because it's dead end because you're thinking AI will take it, robots will take it, you better start thinking about other ways to make money or other jobs because it's happening right before our very eyes. Now this kind of goes back to the first issue. This is what it means to be a real man and real woman and real family. I teach my kids skills because if something were to happen to a job, they need to be able to rely on something else. They need to be able to mold and mitigate the problem, go to the next task. Critical thinking is key. And we've allowed, studies show that AI is taking critical thinking from humans, and humans just are here's the fallback. Let the government handle it. Let the government give us UBI. Let the government feed us. Let the government give us health care. That's exactly what the Democrats are saying. And you have Republicans who are not actually standing on true meritorious things, such as like, hey, if someone's doing something merit-based, let's raise them. If someone's doing something, let's make sure they have the best job available. If someone's doing this, then we need to benefit them. No, what's happening is we're seeing people not critically think because of AI, losing their jobs, and they want to have the fallback of, well, government has solved the problems. There's a new report from a bank showing that government cannot solve the problems anymore because we're putting ourselves in such a bind that we thought 2008 market crisis was bad. They said we have not yet seen how dangerous and how close we can get to a depression. That was from a banker in UK, said that we're seeing the ramifications and we're trying to set ourselves up because we know when America falls, the world falls. And he says what we're seeing is a worse case scenario, worse than 2008 mortgage crisis happening right now because of delinquency and problems with debt in America. See, when we start losing jobs and we're in debt up to our eyeballs and we think the government's going to heal it, how are they going to heal it? Printing more money to inflate? That's what we're trying to help with Argentina. They've printed too much money and inflated, and now it's worth nothing. Come on, pay attention to these stories. Yes, kudos to Walmart, great announcement. Still be careful because they're only looking out for themselves. Still shop mom and pop, still shop from the farm, help your local businesses. But that is a good thing. Amazon, if you don't have to buy it on Amazon, please try to find it locally. Please try not to buy it. I mean, there's things that we order on Amazon because I can't get it from store. I'm not trying to justify that. What I'm trying to say is it's a big part of our lives. It has become a big part of your life. Here's the thing though. If you can think innovatively and think other ways to not have to use them, especially when they're taking 600,000 jobs and giving them to AI, we may need to try to do that. Let's start being proactive in our approach to helping America versus helping everyone else. I would say that to administration too. If we are led by Republicans, why don't we start doing things based on America goals and what Americans need and not the world. Last story I'll bring up is your meat, and this is why I tell you to buy local meat if you can. I've been pushing back on a lot of what Thomas Massey said about importing Argentina meat. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think every meat should be labeled where it's from so that way people know what they're buying. But I'll be honest with you, I'd rather someone eat, Argentina beef than a hot dog scraped together with some stuff in a factory in America because it's crap. It's gross. Have you ever seen how hot dogs are made? It's nasty. So, do I believe that there's a place to bring in meat? I just think it needs to be properly labeled. And here's the thing. The reason farmers are struggling right now is because, my gosh, the cost of the cow and the cost of the food and the cost of amendments is ridiculous. We always tell you all the time, we can raise cattle regeneratively with non-sprayed hay, with non-GMO feed, with good quality stuff by doing the way God told us to do it, which is regenerative ag, understanding how to use the animals to work our farm and to build a farm around that, sustainable living. Let's go to two stories dealing with our meat because it's just disgusting when you think about what you're buying at the store. FDA admits, this is from FDA now, ground beef might be cloned or 3D printed, and you may not even know it. There was a guy that they interviewed that went to Kroger, Target, Walmart, Aldi, Whole Foods, and all the other grocery stores. He said not a single pack of meat showed where it came from. This is what I was telling about the Argentina thing. A lot of times we just trust because it says homegrown or grass-fed or organically raised or regeneratively raised. All that stuff, all those terminologies are all loopholes and interpretives that all these big businesses play in. Remember how the organic apple spray is called a peel that Bill Gates did? He just claimed it wasn't a fungicide, it was a pesticide or vice versa, and then that spray got considered organic through FDA. So all this FDA approved stuff is really just garbage because they're the same people that approved all this stuff that's causing all the sickness, by the way, if you hadn't watched my last 2 or 3 videos, but I digress, that's not what we're talking about today. What I am talking about is when we go into the grocery store, are we trusting the meat that we're getting is labeled correctly? Well, to be honest with you, most of it doesn't tell you where it's origined at. And to be honest with you, if you go back to 2015, they took the country of origin off meat packaging because they want to act like it's all from America, which it's not. The biggest 4 providers of our meat in America are not even, 3 of them are not even truly American owned for the beef side. And for the chicken side, only 2 of them are based here in America. So we have a major problem when it comes to meat. What this guy was saying was FDA is not allowing them to put the country of origin on there. At the same time, FDA is not telling them what kind of meat it is. FDA is not telling them how it's mixed. Is this 1 pound of meat made up of 1,000 cattle? There's a report that said that there's hundreds of DNA in 1 McDonald's patty. Now, he wasn't saying human DNA, he was saying cattle DNA. But he was saying it shows that if you had a sick cow in the mix of all that, who knows what kind of quality meat you're getting, because they're finding like 100 to 200 sets of DNA in 1 beef patty, 1/4 pound beef patty. So what this guy was bringing attention to, he's saying, well, what we would like to see is that people tell us where our meat's coming from and what kind of meat it is and what additives we have in it. Prime example of why this is important. It just came out that said, if we don't know the origin, we don't know the truth, then how do we know the meat is true? How do we know the FDA isn't making it where to what we're buying is true beef? I mean, Trump just came out and said the beef shortage is causing problems. That's why he's going to Argentina to buy more meat. Listen to this new study. It says, study links ultra-processed plant-based meat alternatives and other forms of additives when it comes to your meat is starting to cause, especially men, depression and inflammation across their body. It says that what we're seeing is that people are not getting the quality protein, especially when it comes to men. They're getting loaded with sodiums, sugars, and fats, and trash, and it's destroying their cholesterol, giving them high blood pressure, and giving them IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and also it's putting them at a 42% increase of risk of depression, along with other problems that they will have to have pharmaceuticals for. Isn't it weird how FDA approves this and they're over the Food and Drug Administration? Doesn't that kind of, it's kind of funny that we, again, don't link these 2 things together and say, well, the people that's providing us the food labeling is the same people that's providing the drug labeling, and we're just on the same cycle carousel that we ripped before. What this study shows is one thing. Men cannot provide what God can provide. God gives us walking buffalo and cattle, walking hog and chicken, and also how to raise them sustainable to where it grows your food, grows the best quality grass and hay that you can have, while dropping out fertilizer on the back end that's absolutely free of charge. But see, we've messed that up so much that we've done CAFOs and we've put cows and pigs and chickens in all these operations because people are not growing food. You know, less than 5% of America is growing any kind of food. So you wonder why our food system is so broken? It's because 95% of America, along with a lot of the world, is needing farmers to provide it. So that's why you have the genetically modified. That's why you have all these alternatives and additives. See, what humans have tried to do is make life easier for you, but what they're actually doing is making you more sicker. So what these 2 stories have brought up is said, well, look, if you're not buying it from the local beef butchery, or at least from a farmer down the road, or growing your own, who knows what you're eating? And the stuff that you are eating has now been proven that it has tons of DNA in it, tons of sicknesses in it, and also is giving you at a 42% risk of being more sick, depressed, and especially men, is causing problems for. Now let's go back to the very first story. You know how you can be a man again? Start doing manly things. You know how you can be a supportive wife again? Start being the supportive wife. You know how you can be smart when it comes to your Christian faith and your values? You start thinking, well, if we did it this way, and my grandfather and grandmother were able to live through the Depression with no problem, and they grew a family of all these people and didn't have to worry about debt, then they probably were doing something right. If they raised their own food, why can't we do that? Why do we think that we got to go to the golf course and the tennis courts on every Friday and Saturday instead of actually taking care of our family? I just want us to be better. I want us to understand the skills, morals, and values. I want us to understand our Christian faith. I want us to be real men and women again. Is that too much to ask? I don't want to depend on the government. I don't want to depend on someone else to provide everything for me. That's not prideful, but that's just, I think, an honest assessment of what we should be doing. Taking care of our families the best way we know how. Why do you think I'm trying to build legacy? Why do you think I'm trying to raise all these animals? Why do you think I'm planting pecan trees and fruit trees that I probably will never see grow up and actually produce? Well, because it's providing for my family. Pay attention, start doing some of these things again, because Amazon and Walmart, those kind of people, they're not going to always take care of you. The government's not always going to take care of you. It's time to start focusing on taking care of your family. Prepare and be ready. Guys, let me know your thoughts today. God bless.